Overthinking has been a close companion of mine over the last 2 years, because I'm 100% sure I'm not the only one struggling with doubts and uncertainty. This is my attempt to put my thoughts into words and to let you know that you're not alone with these issues. Let's get started. Wow, it took me a while to get here. During this summer, I turned 20. And it was scary. Well, not only scary, but much, much more than that. Let me explain. People like to say that our world is getting faster and faster every day, which isn't wrong. Our environment is changing faster than ever before. The way we communicate gets faster, and we can basically order anything we want on the internet and have it at our doorstep in a matter of a couple of days. However, with everything getting faster and faster, I feel like young people like me, and probably you, can get the impression that their time is running out faster too, or that we as a generation just take way more time to grow up in the first place. At least for my part, I can say that in the past 2 years, I had way more moments where I felt like, shit, time is running out and I'm not growing up fast enough. Then I had moments where I was like, hey, you're only 20 years old. You've got plenty of time in life to do everything you set your mind to. And this kind of got me thinking, why is it that we feel this way and what can we maybe do about it? Now, part of it might be explained by the fact that as most 20-year-olds, I can't realistically and seriously picture the second half of my life. I mean, think about it. When you imagine your life, how it's going to be, how often do you seriously think about what you're going to do on a daily basis after you're, say, 40? How often are you really going to think about what are your goals and ambitions going to be when you're that age? Your plans will probably be not as detailed as the plans you have for the next 5 years. And this is totally normal. However, it leaves me feeling that I have 10, 15 years left to accomplish anything I want to do, and it's kind of going to be all downhill from there, which obviously is crazy. I mean, think about all the amazing things being accomplished and being done by people in their 40s, 50s, 60s, and 70s. And still, this feeling of urgency is somehow always there. I believe this is only one part of what makes up the anxiety and discomfort many young people in their 20s feel when thinking about the future. And maybe this phenomenon is also only the baseline concept for the next thing I want to talk about, because in addition to having not that much time, I feel like I'm not making the most out of the time that was given to me. For example, the question I ask myself on a regular basis is, will I, when I'm someday hopefully 60, 70, 80 years old, regret how I spend my time right now in this life? How can I avoid regret? And is this maybe the question that should be guiding our lives? These are questions that I do not have the answers to, but I believe to know this. Waking up at an old age and suddenly realizing that I have wasted the time that I had on this earth must be a horrible feeling that's just going to eat you up from the inside and never stop. Realizing that I have not lived life to my full potential must be awful. And I don't want to have any regrets when I'm old. When I'm 85, hopefully, I want to be exhausted from having lived my life to the fullest potential. So how do I do that? How do I make the most of life? This question started to manifest itself like 2 years ago. when I grew more independent and I wanted to figure out, okay, what can I use my independence for? What can I use all this energy I now have and the freedom I now have? What can I use that for? And I feel like as a person my age today, there are more answers to that question than our minds can possibly handle. We get, in my experience, mostly through social media, get shown utopian versions of what our lives could be. We see people traveling the world, becoming lawyers, doctors, professional athletes, artists, actors. We see people making ridiculous amounts of money, partying in New York City every night and living their wildest dreams. Or at least it seems like they do. Now, first of all, nobody can do all these things in one lifetime. But still, I feel sometimes like I'm missing out on a lot of stuff and on each of those different things. Although obviously, all those things are done by different people. The problem with social media is that it is a goddamn highlight reel. We see the best moments of people's lives condensed into like 30-second videos. We consume tens or hundreds of these videos a day, and in one instant, our lives seem awfully boring. And confronted with this multitude of utopian versions of other people's lives, I find myself asking, well, what the hell should I do with my life to make it as exciting as those versions I see? Should I live life to the fullest all the time? Go out and have fun with friends, family, and enjoy as much time with the people I love as I can? Or should I just put my head down, work as hard as I can for 5 years, and then just enjoy my life after that? Should I travel full time and see the world? Should I go to university? Should I start a business? Or am I maybe just putting too much pressure on myself? For my part, I have to admit that I'm sometimes really worried that I'm gonna make a suboptimal choice and that I will end up dedicating months and years of my life to one path, only to eventually find out that it wasn't good for me and that I wasted all this time on something that wasn't even worth it. And there's actually a term for this. It's called analysis paralysis. And it describes overthinking out of fear of making a suboptimal decision, leading to not making a decision at all. But I and you, we must make a choice. Because not making one, not taking the risk that you might be wrong, leads to passiveness, leads to becoming a spectator in your own life. And this will sure as hell leave me with a ton of regrets when I'm old. I feel like we, or at least I, have these enormous expectations that my 20s are supposed to be the best time of my life. And more than once have I asked myself, okay, how the hell am I, or is this time in my life supposed to live up to these expectations? And what happens if these expectations are not fulfilled? I guess what I'm trying to say is, it's scary. It's scary to look ahead on a life full of uncertainty. But I know that living life without any uncertainty would be much, much worse. I guess it's scary to make decisions about how best to use our days, months, and years when knowing that making the wrong decision could cost us many of those. I talked about this with a very dear friend of mine, and she said that one big part of the equation is having faith. Having faith that if we make a decision, conscious and with all our heart, that it will be the right one. It might not be the best decision. In fact, it will most likely not be the best decision, and there might be bumps in the road. But even if we fail to achieve what we set out to do, we can, 1, say that we learned something from it, and 2, we can confidently say that we did what we believed was best at a certain moment in time with the available information we had. I guess that I will have to come to terms with the fact that I will make mistakes. No matter how thoroughly I think about my decisions, and that these mistakes will become part of me in a time where it is more important than ever not to find the way, but your way, or in that case, my way.